Hey guys, so for this video I'm actually going to be doing the review of the next book in the Glenn and Glenda, I don't know what the hell you would call it, not saga, duology I guess, I don't know. Anyways, this is called Death of a Transvestite, and yes, it's exactly like it sounds. The story starts out with Glenn, since he's Glenn at this time. He's been sentenced to death, no doubt, I'm assuming because of him being involved in the syndicate and killing people. Well, he says that he will give the full story about, his escapades as Glenda if the warden allows him to dress up in women's clothing when he goes to be executed. And the warden agrees to do it because apparently no one else has been able to get the story out of Glenn / Glenda about what happened. And so that's kind of how we start, and then that goes into this pretty much main story. I will admit, I found this fucking book so much more boring than the first one, because a good chunk of it is, once again, Glenn, he goes to California and he finds a shocker's prostitute. And this prostitute, she's kind of already has this dude that she kind of, I guess you'd say, leeches off of, because she will have sex with him, and then, when he questions whether or not she's faithful, she'll, I would say kind of emasculates him. What's the word? Emasculates him. She starts, questioning his manhood, I guess. And the guy would always kind of fold. But when Glenn comes along, he solves it by hitting her. Literally, that's what happens. He hits her, and then she suddenly becomes besotted with him, and it was kind of stupid. But yeah, and that was pretty much it, and then eventually they end up going to this club where there are drag queens, and happen to get caught in this melee between the cops and these, I don't know what you would call them, hoodlums. But they're also just, this book was very comfortable with rape. Because when this, this throwdown went down between the cops and the hoodlum, it twice references how one of the hoodlums would grab a woman and drag her to the alley to, have his way with her, I guess. And it was kind of gross, to be honest. Not that the cops were any better in this book than they were in the first one, because at the very beginning, Rose, who was in the first book, she was the prostitute who helps Glenn. They were literally beating the shit out of her to try to get him, get Rose to admit, tell Glenn about, or to tell them where Glenn is. And of course she does, not surprising. She ends up getting canned not long after. I wasn't sure if that was because of the killer, or if that was the implication that the cops, were the ones who killed them. But let's be honest, the cops, once again, are just crap in this book. What with, the ones that literally were beating the shit out of Rose, and then later on, when they're going up against these hoodlums, they really don't feel any different than the hoodlums, because they were they felt like they were they just weren't going around beating the shit out of people. Not because they didn't think it was the right thing to do, but because they didn't think they'd be getting away with it. They had these rules that they had to follow, or else they might get in trouble if they, went after these hoodlum without any, pretense or some shit like that. It's just the tone of the book that was kind of getting to me. I didn't really feel sympathy for the cops at all. Didn't help that it was kind of in a gay club as well, especially knowing exactly say with, Stonewall, what happened there. I mentioned a killer, and there is in fact a killer. You remember the first review I said at the end of the book, I think I said anyways, there was a killer. Well, it turns out that the killer is another transvestite sent by the syndicate after Glenn and Glenda, because apparently they only fucking, deal with transvestites, I guess. And it's kind of implied, I think this transvestite is actually transgender, because they were talking about getting sex surgery. Not because they were trying to hide or anything, but because they felt like that's who they were. But also, this transvestite, Pauline, I think it was Pauline, turns out to be a serial killer. He talks about, we get a glimpse where earlier in their life, Paul killed women, would rape and kill women, and then wear their clothes to become sexually aroused. And so that's, once again, I keep feeling like they're just trying to imply that transvestite, there's something messed up about them, and they're trying to conflate it, like, with transgenderism and how it's wrong, and it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Honestly, there was really nothing I would say I enjoyed about this book. The only thing I would say is probably the structure, because it starts out with Glenn and Glenda being put on death row, and they're starting to tell their stories, and then it goes more into, like, these police cases, I guess. So it would, like, list the case number and then the subject, the person who the story was about, or who was talking, and then it would go into, like, maybe like 3 or 4 pages about this person's point of view. I kind of like that, because I kind of like the story structure, and with the, like, chunk it out, because I have such a short attention span that it makes it so much easier to read, than just, like, chapters with, like, 15 pages. That's always harder for me to read. So I think that was the only thing I could say I enjoyed about this book. Other than that, it felt more boring in this book, and also more offensive, to be honest. Because they did use, in particular, a lot of not racial, that was the 1+, I guess, but homophobic slurs. So, they had slurs for lesbians, gay men, of course. And it just, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, I guess you could say. So, character-wise, they are all just bland. I didn't feel any sympathy for any of them, and I didn't feel a connection with any of them. It was obvious, it's just a pulp, one of those books where they're trying to profit off of something that's very, I guess you could say, triggering. I don't know what the word would be. Can't think of it at the moment. Shock value at the time. So I shouldn't be expecting much, but I still, it's just the way I am. I just am so disappointed. So that was my review of Death of a Transvestite. So if you did like the video, give it a like, subscribe to get notifications for all the videos I'll be doing, and you guys have a nice night. Stay safe out there. I'll talk to you later. Bye.